and there's the burn pit. Don't go near that, And I was like, okay. So there's all these really, and I was like, well, where's the UFOs? And he just looks at me. You want to go to the weather station? And I'm like, why would I want to go there? And he just laughs at me.
All right, so fasting forward to when you got into the meeting. I want you to take me there in a second, like the first meeting where you're told about the program. But it's fair to say that it wasn't a top of mind thought about alien life or non-human intelligence at that point. You had many other priorities in your life for those years between that time.
Right. And see, that's just it. I guess we did talk a little bit about it because the first time we went up range for the red flag exercises and training and everything, people automatically, everybody who was new to it started talking about Dreamland.
Dreamland?
Yeah. The place up there in the test range.
Oh,
that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
But
Area B.
Yes. Thank you. Listen, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the area that you bleeped out the words in the program, but not the mouth, so lip readers can go figure it out.
Right. No,
nice job, James.
I used the F-bomb a lot in that film. That's what everybody said. What were you doing? Were you saying the F-bomb? Or I was like, no. So,
okay.
Anyway.
So what is that first meeting like though? Who's without
it's just
naming
all
a
of
name?
us,
Who's in it? Like where are you taken to? How does it?
We're at Black Mountain. We're up there getting our training to do red flag exercises, and we're just hanging out on the front porch of the schoolhouse. And if you look straight across the desert, that's Groom Lake mountain range. Mm-hmm. And people started talking, oh, well, that's Dreamland. And everybody's like, oh, they got UFOs there, and they got this, that, and the other. And I was like, wow, it'd be cool. That's the first time we started talking about it. The second time was closer to probably them getting me on board, because that was just me and one of the other guys that was already read in, driving up range to go, take care of a couple other people that wanted to change out, days. Because we would do that sometimes, aside from your 2 weeks up range, you could trade out with other people, because people have stuff to do. People that are having kids. They got to go to a hospital appointment, or their grandparents are in the hospital. Stuff. Yeah. So we were just going up there to replace people, and that was it. So we got to Indian Springs, and we started to talk about it. And I was saying, wow, Dreamland, that would be really cool. And the guy, I didn't even know it. He was right in at the time. He's all chuckling at me like, yeah, wouldn't that be great? And I'm like talking it all up. And we just had a really good conversation about the whole thing. So we go up, we do our bit over on Black Mountain, and we train the air crews, and then we come on back home. And within a short amount of time after that, I get pulled in.
Who pulls you in?
The same guy who was in the car with me and two other analysts that are also 1-in-6s.
Now, Lou Elizondo in his book describes like being in his office, and a certain guy, I think it was maybe Lukaski, walks in and says like, hey, I need you to apply for this or that, so you can have clearance.
I did not have to apply.
So there's nothing like that.
They had their eye on me for some reason, and they just said, hey, Jake, come here. Come in here and we need to talk. And they took me into one of the side offices that wasn't very well used. And I guess that's where they had been operating out of when they did their analysis and stuff. And I sat down, and they mentioned that they wanted to bring me on board a special access program, and if I had any problems with taking a polygraph, and all these other things. And I was like, man, I got nothing to hide. I'll take a polygraph.
But they don't say words like alien or NHI or anything like that. They're just saying it's going to be some top secret shit.
Yeah. And
so what, they have you take a polygraph?
Yeah.
Was it just a normal polygraph?
No, this is full life. You have two types of polygraphs. You got counter intel, which is the lesser of the two. Then you have full scope. Full scope is everything. They dig up everything. You're talking about your childhood. What did your third cousin removed do? That kind of stuff.
Did they know a lot about your childhood and some of the things you dealt with?
Yeah, but then the topic for the questions was just mainly, about being a trustworthy person, and they're bringing up a touchy subject that they know you probably would be shocked to hear from them, just to see how you respond and see if you're lying. And I went through that with flying colors, I guess. I was also there with the officer, the scientist of our team. He was onboarding the same time I was into the program, so we both took our polygraph the same day.
Was it literally called the program at the time?
No, I can't say it was. They gave me the project name after I had my polygraph, and it came back positive. That came back without any problems. Then they took me and they called me up. I think it was on a Friday. It was a Friday, and they just said, "Have your bags packed. We're leaving tomorrow." And I said, "Okay, where?" And they said, "We're not going to tell you. Just meet us. We're going to come pick you up over at the dormitory. And we're going to go." I said, "Okay," because both of them are the two that went with me that day. No, the three of them. Two of them were married, and one of them was still single. The guy that was single, I actually hung out most with, and he and I actually had a lot of commonality with a lot of our hobbies and stuff. And anyway, so they came and picked me up the next day. We went to McCarran Airport, and there's this weird place where they take you, and there's unmarked
Weird
aircraft. Yeah, it's like this little hangar at it. It's just like you drive off of a certain road over there, and you go in the gate. You got to have your credentials, and you got to show your ID card, and you have to be on the list. Otherwise, you get turned around and told to bug off. So we go there, and I get on the in the line, and
In the line for what?
for getting on the craft.
Get on the airplane. Got
Yeah,
it.
because there's all the other people that are going.
Okay, you're getting on an airplane.
We're getting on
Was
an
there a
airplane.
line that said you had to be this tall?
Okay, no, there wasn't nothing like that. But no, you got to take 2 shots in a beer.
Oh, that's
Kidding.
good.
No, just kidding. But anyway, no,
Vegas.
you go through the line, and you get to the point where I'm going in the line with the rest of the guys, and the other guys are just like, okay, you watch how people respond when you get on board the aircraft and when they deplane. And I was like, why? He said, you'll find this kind of interesting. And I was like, okay, because I'm like, I've been on planes before. I don't get it. So anyway, but what they're alluding to is like when everybody got on, it was very civilized. It was like everybody knew where they were going to sit.
Yeah.
And then when they left, the same thing happened. Nobody was jostling around, elbowing you to get in the line and grabbing their bags. And everybody was just very civilized. So anyway, that's the first day I went up to Groom Lake with them. And I had to go sit through my read-in video. And
Read-in video?
Yeah, it's a training video to tell you, welcome to this program.
We handle aliens here.
No, they don't go that far, but they
Okay,
say
just
stuff
making
like,
sure.
you must maintain your blah, 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 and all this. And here's the things that you're going to be doing. And then after the whole brief, and then they release you to your workspaces. Some of them were scientists, and they went to the lab. There were some people that were leadership, and they'd go to their office. They had all these different places they could go. And I was taken to the commander's headquarters in the building there. And the guys, we all went up there. We all greeted the commander. And then the commander said, okay, how about a base tour for you, Jay? And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And
You still have no idea what.
well, I knew where I was. I knew I was in Dreamland, and I knew I'd been onboarded into this program.
Okay.
And I knew because the first thing in the video is it tells you what the program name is.
And is it a dead giveaway kind of thing?
No,
No.
it's something that is hard to figure out.
Okay. So you don't you know where you are, so you're like, I heard there's some weird shit here, but you don't necessarily know if like that's going to prove to be urban legend or if you're doing something
Correct.
deep military black ops type stuff.
Right. So anyway, so I'm up there with the commander, and he asked the other guys to go have lunch or whatever, and he says, "You're coming with me. We're going to do the base tour." He showed me all around the whole base. Told me this hangar's that radar does this. There's the weather station, and all that stuff. And there's the burn pit. Don't go near that. And I was like, okay. So there's all these really, and I was like, well, where's the UFOs? And he just looks at me. You want to go to the weather station? And I'm like, why would I want to go there? And he just laughs at me. And he says, just right over there. You want me to take you there? And I'm like, why would you have a weather station out here? And he's like, well, you want to go sit? And I'm like, I was stupid. And I said, no. So
Why'd you say no?
because I was like, no, I want to see the UFOs. It's like, show me the UFOs.
You weren't reading the room.
I wasn't reading him right because I'm like that. I'm stupid. To a certain extent. I don't pick up on clues that other people get in context. But he was alluding to the fact that after I had said, can you show me the UFOs? He was alluding to, they're over there by the weather station. Okay, let's go see that. And then he just laughed at me when I didn't get it enough. And he was like, golly, this guy's a freaking idiot. But anyway, so we all,
What year was this roughly?
91.
Okay. And then, so was
Stay
it,
with the mic, James.
oh, sorry, I was asking what year this is. Was this around this time, or was it after that or before that?
This was probably 92. Oh, I know him. Yeah. He showed up.
Yeah,
You know,
show the picture.
of the camera.
This
was
was,
the one we were
90.
looking at earlier.
This was probably
Hold it
92,
flat.
93. 92 or 93.
Okay, so this is of a year or two. You're talking about a year or two prior to that photograph being taken.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Just wanted to get an idea because I wasn't sure.
So we're
Yeah.
like right after. We're basically right after Desert Storm right now
Yeah.
in your story. So you've only been in Nevada for 2 or 3 months or something,
About
and
6 months, yeah.
you get called into this. So this is maybe like 93, and we're in perhaps like 92ish right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 92 or 93. That's when I put on Staff Sergeant. That's 4 stripes on your arm.
Okay.
So I think that's what I have. I have 4 stripes or 3? You
3.
can't tell. You don't have your glasses.
I'll get my glasses on here. Hold on. It looks like 3, but it could be 4. 1, 2, 3. 3 stripes.
Had you heard
Okay,
anything?
that was a buck sergeant, and this must have been 91.
Okay.
Just as a quick aside, real quick, had you heard anything related to the Bob Lazar story at that time?
Negative. No, nobody was mentioning that
No
at
one
the
was
time.
talking about that.
I had heard about him in the news, but he was not my concern.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So you refuse to go to the weather station, but you're in Dreamland and you're thinking, where are the UFOs? When was the first time where you were somewhere in Dreamland there, where you were in a room or in a place or in a moment where you realized you were going to be read in on some things that maybe are not of this earth?
That came pretty soon after my base tour because the guys that I was going to be working with, the other analysts like myself, who are all about the same rank, they took me over to what they call the Cantina on the base. And it's old as sin, probably World War I, World War II kind of building. But it's just a place where you can go cook hot dogs and hamburgers and drink beer and do whatever. It's just a cantina. And it was the stupidest freaking thing I ever seen them do to me. But they gave me a piece of paper that had the full list of, what it looked like was going to be my job. And there was stuff in there talking about UFOs and all kinds of weird stuff that I was going to be exposed to. But they only let me read it for less than a minute. In other words, I could not possibly read every word.
But you can see keywords and
But
you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because as an intel guy, you have to learn how to scan things pretty quickly.
course.
So I did do this cursory scan. So I was picking up on, oh, wow, this is UFOs. This is about exotic materials. This is about scientists working on stuff, and reverse engineering, blah, blah, blah. All these things were hitting me. And then I started trying to read through there. It was the dumbest thing. They came barreling in, and they're trying to grab the paper, and I knew I hadn't finished it, and they're trying to grab it. And they're chasing me around the cantina with me holding this piece of paper. And then finally they grabbed it from me, and they tore it away before I could finish reading the whole thing. So that was kind of goofy. And they said, that's it. We only got a few minutes. We only got a little bit of time to read it ourselves. So,
But that has to pique your imagination like
yeah,
crazy.
they just said, we just did that just to show you that, you got some serious stuff that you're going to have to learn. So I was like, okay, and off I went. And then we went back. We flew back that afternoon, back to Nellis. And I went back to my dormitory. And then the next thing I knew, they called me on another Friday, and we were going out for my first mission.
Did they tell you anything about what the mission would be?
No, you just get a call that Friday, have your bags packed. We'll tell you on the way.
All right. Now, how many guys did you go on this mission with?
It was always the same 3 guys, sometimes, and an OSI team.
Okay, so these are guys you work with closely and that you're
Yes.
tight with.
They're the only people involved. Yeah, out of 200 people in my career field, there's only 4 guys doing the job.
Okay. Where did they take you?
They took me to Eglin for the first mission.
And what did you have to do when you got there?
We were told by the trusted agents for that organization, because we were doing the telecommunications monitoring. Mm-hmm. Usually the only people that even knew we were on the base was the commander and maybe one other staffer.
Why is that?
That's because they wanted people talking like they normally do every day,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
so that we get an honest assessment for them. Because if everybody knows and I announce it, what's the first thing you're going to do? That the inspection team's coming.
Big Brother's listening.
Go home. take time off, don't talk. That's what happens. So yeah, you get all that. But anyway, that's why we did it that way. So every mission was like that. Sometimes the commander would say, this is my mission. This is what I want you to focus on. Other times they'd be like, I don't want you to know anything. I want you to attack this as if you knew nothing, like a Russian or a Chinese person would.
Right.
You break it down as they would.
And you've used this term. I believe it's red team, right?
Yes, yes.
So you've used that throughout the day. I haven't cut you
That's
off
the
with
new
that,
term.
But now we're here.
Yeah.
So essentially, the way I understand this is that you guys are operating in a way that you're trying to be counterintelligence to figure out, like, okay, if we were, say, China, how would we get into X system or something like that? Is that
Right.
fair to say?
Yeah. It's kind of, well, yes, that's how we would attack it. That's why you call it a red team. Red means enemy when you talk about the Air Force, because blue force is friendly forces.
Right.
A red force is an enemy force. So red teaming just means that you're part of the team, but you're going to attack it from the enemy's viewpoint of that type of discipline. So that when we reported on it, it would be as if, this is the real no kidding Monty on what we can pick up without knowing anything coming into this. And sometimes that's the way we'd roll it.
Would you doing that looking for vulnerabilities?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're looking for any vulnerabilities. And then we had the OSI team members there as well. And they would be trying to, backdoor into SCIF areas and get into people's offices. And sometimes they'd be able to break in, and then we get a phone call that I could pick up, and they say, "Hey, Jay, it's me. I got in." And they click the phone.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Hey, they got in." And so that was part of the whole thing. So the USI team would be doing that kind of stuff, where they'd be doing like the physical security. Sometimes we would help the OSI agents, though, because we would show up at like going away parties. Like if I was listening to the phones for the week, we knew somebody's going away party was going to happen. Well, we would just show up and invite ourselves. So we would try to see if we could get any intel off of them. And the OSI team would come along with us and do that. Or we'd do things like dumpster diving.
Dumpster diving?
Yeah, because a lot of papers, people throw things in the trash. You're supposed to use a shredder for classified documents and everything, and stuff that's sensitive or could be sensitive. And people are awful about what goes in their trash bin.
Yeah.
So dumpster diving is a big way of people learn intel, is that you go in there, you pull out the trash bags.
Yeah, you're literally talking about dumpster diving.
You actually we had agents waiting to see this particular office throwing away their trash.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And then they immediately, as soon as they got the green light, they'd be going through there grabbing trash bags out. And that's how we did our work.
So this first mission that you and the other three guys go on, where did you say?
Eglin?
Eglin Air Force Base, yeah.
Okay.
That's down in Florida.
All right. Maybe I was misunderstanding this, but is this on this mission, do you run into something where you think it's like NHI?
It was a weird one, let me put it that way.
How
It was
so?
on a part of the base that you don't normally go to. It had strange things on the rooftops of the buildings there. I don't know what purpose they served. And I honestly don't remember part of the mission there. I remember going into the lobby to meet our points of contact, and sometime or another, I don't remember anything else except leaving. That's it.
So you don't remember the work you did?
I don't remember what we did there.
Okay. But these missions would now start happening
Yep.
periodically.
And then,
How often would you say on average?
3 or 4 a year,
Okay.
different locations.
And what length of time average each one?
Always 2 weeks.
Always 2 weeks.
Always. Yep. We'd have the first week, and then you'd have a little space of 2 days for the weekend, and you could do whatever you like. And then the second week, you do the hot wash on that last Friday, and you just do the hot wash. It was just a down and dirty of our findings with the staff that was allowed to come into that briefing.
And most of what you're doing ends up involving more of the traditional things, which is counter intel, involving things that could be other countries. But in the middle of this, you mentioned there's parts you don't remember, at least that first mission, and then there's some things that are just weird.
Yes.
But you're not at, meaning in your mind, you're not at a point yet where where you're thinking, all right, this is really like a UFO job. Like I'm looking for alien type
Right.
stuff.
That happened at Wright-Pat most of the time.
That happened what?
At Wright-Patterson.
At Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Okay, but meaning like that's a separate thing to you. You're like, I know they do that there, but whatever we're doing here, even though we're at Dreamland, this is more normal stuff.
Yes.
That's how you're thinking of it.
Yeah.
All right. When did that change? What mission?
It was my first right pat mission, I would say. That's when I really started to think.
Oh, you did a right pat mission.
Yeah, because we did Eglin, and then I think we did a right pat mission, and then we went back to Eglin again. And it's all jumbled up, and I can't remember all of the different ones, but I think that first year, that's the way it went. Eglin, right pat, back to Eglin. And then after that, I'm not too sure.
And what happened at this right pat one you're referring to, though, where things change?
That's where we were talking earlier about this really strange stuff, like picking up my gist sheet and saying, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Okay.
And the other guys would come up and they'd put the headphones on and they'd make me replay the recording a number of times and they were just in shock, just like I was. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And sometimes the lead analyst would go across the street and he wouldn't come back for hours. And he was probably talking to the leadership and saying, this is what we intercepted. And I remember one time in particular where they actually stopped monitoring one of the lines and turned it over to the lead analyst, and he was the only one allowed to listen in.
And you're not able, even though your wife's in the military and everything, like, this is all top secret, so you can't go home and talk about this with anyone?
I never talked to my wife
just
about it.
Totally have to compartmentalize it.
Yeah, I actually, because what I was doing was my normal job, which every other 1 in 6 was doing the red flag exercises and all the telecommunication monitoring that was elsewhere around the continental U.S. That were not in this particular program.
Right.
But I also had to do like this additional work for the program.
Okay.
So I was doing all my normal stuff. So I looked like a normal guy to everybody else, and even my wife. And there was this part of me that I would just leave on a mission, and I would just tell my wife, hey, I got to go on a telecommunications mission. And she would just say, oh, another one of those. And but she wouldn't know that was part of the program.
Watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.